Ahead of NPP's parliamentary primaries, Member of Parliament for Okre Dan Boche is calling for electoral reforms within the party to protect first-timers and other key positions.
Nation does not invest so much in training. People will go outside for training, even here. The moment he gets the understanding of how parliamentary works, then he's on his way out. Parliament does not benefit from it. The nation does not benefit from it. And we cannot have a whole institution just for one person's desire. I want to be an MP. I don't care whether the nation has invested in the person is going out. Therefore, I don't care. I want to be an MP. So coming to parliament is a fundamental right. But coming to parliament through a political party, I don't believe it's a fundamental right. A party should be able to make rules. These are our party, these are our rules. If you think that you don't like our rules, you can go independent, you can form another political party.
But how politically practicable are these suggestions? Also tonight, as the race to the Talensi by-election heats up following the resignation of the MP, what are the odds for both the NPP and the NDC? Can the NPP retain the seat, or will it fall to the NDC? This is today's big story with me, Stephen Enti. Now, apart from preparations to contest the Talensi by-elections, the opposition New Patriotic Party has been through critical processes to choose parliamentary candidates for 2016. But ahead of all of that, one of its key members, Dan Boche, who is also MP for Okre, says certain positions like that of the minority leader must be protected by the party. Well, Mr. Boche wants the party to make rules to stop anyone from contesting first-timers in parliament and the minority leader.
You see, there are issues that we really have to talk. I'm wondering whether maybe we have enough time, because you see, in this matters, when you discuss it and it's not discussed very fully, people will take your discussion out of context. You know, I would want the party to discuss these matters again. 18 months to general elections, 18 months of serious parliamentary work, and first-timers are being contested. And mind you, even though we are holding the primaries this Saturday in June 13th, it means that about 6 months to this date, members have been aware that they are going to be contested. So even their participation in the House have been affected negatively, because they are still conscious of what's happening in their constituencies. Let's face it, that therefore means that just about a year or 2 years, less than 2 years of being in the House, you have to start thinking of how to fight your primaries. I mean, let's face it. Members are taking 2 workshops here. Members are trained. And in less than half of his term, he knows that I may not come back, or my attention is divided. So he certainly is not giving off his best in Parliament. And it's the nation, it's the state which is losing. Now, the person who also goes to this primaries June 30th and loses, put yourself in his shoes. He now has to plan how he's going to lead his life after 2016. How are you going to be sure he's going to give his attention to Parliament the way as he should be, and even to his constituents? And that is for the party side. Is he now going to be a very regular person in his constituency to go and support party matters? Because now there's another candidate there. You know, so for me, I thought. But you see, when because of the position I've occupied before as a general secretary, I'm always careful and pass a comment on these things. But I still think that the party will have to look at it again. That these primaries will be held the last 6 months or 8 months in the election year. Yeah, so that members can be fully involved in parliamentary work. And even the party should be bold enough to look at the issue whether a member comes to Parliament, unless the leadership of Parliament and the national executive have serious issues with the member of Parliament, he should not be contested in the first term. I think the party should be able to take that bold decision, and I will support that decision. We should look at it, make some amendments to the rules, but I think that's where we should go. So we have value for money. The nation does not invest so much in training. People will go outside for training, even here. The moment he gets the understanding of how parliamentary works, then he's on his way out. Parliament does not benefit from it. The nation does not benefit from it. And we cannot have a whole institution just for one person's desire. I want to be an MP. I don't care whether the nation has invested in the person is going out. Therefore, I don't care. I want to be an MP. So coming to parliament is a fundamental right. But coming to parliament through a political party, I don't believe it's a fundamental right. A party should be able to make rules. This is our party, these are our rules. If you if you think that you don't like our rules, you can go independent, you can form another political party. We should be bold enough to discuss all these things. And also the leadership. I mean, let's face it. Much as people have the right to contest elections, nobody's denying them that. But when you talk of a party, why do you form parties? You have a set of ideas you want to push when you are in power, especially when you are in power. And as a party, just as a region, you have a set of rules, beliefs that you go with. You have a minority leader. By any stretch of argument you put on, he's one of the best people who perform on the floor of the House. You go to his constituency, we're all sitting here. When in the last State of the Nation address, or I think the one before this one, the president even enumerated projects that are being done in the minority leader's constituency. These projects don't just come because he is a minority leader, and because he's been here for so many years, and because you have connections, you are able to lobby for projects in your constituency.
Right, so we'll take a critical examination of some of the proposals that have been suggested by Dan Butchie. But before then, as the Robert Nachinab Duamang Mozore steps aside to enable him become the paramount chief of Tongo, by-elections for his replacement will soon be conducted. But what are the odds for the two leading political parties? We have on the telephone lines now Dr. Theophilus Richardson, who is a political analyst, and Koku Anyidoho, who is the Deputy General Secretary of the ruling NDC. Good evening, gentlemen, and thanks for joining us on today's big story.
Good evening.
Let me start with you, Dr. Richardson. The MP for Kre, Dan Butchie, is raising critical issues. He's saying that the party, the NPP... Hello, Dr. Richardson, if you're here,
Yes, I'm listening.
I'm saying that Dan Butchie is suggesting that the NPP must review its rules to protect some key positions within Parliament, especially when you're a first-timer in Parliament. He feels that the party should make rules so that no one will contest against you. And also, if you're a minority leader, for example, your expertise and skills are greatly required for the sustenance and growth of Parliament. So nobody should contest you until some time. Do you feel this is a good suggestion?
Good evening to your cherished viewers and listeners. I suppose this is his opinion, but views and opinions on such critical issues must indeed be informed by well-grounded, do I say, theory and paradigm. I mean, anyone who wants to speak against theories, or is against theories is not fit for purpose to me. And I know where some of these people are coming from. Democracy is basically, not only about representation, in which case some people will call representative democracy, but it's also about competition. So we have competitive democracy, and I think this whole idea about some people not have being insulated from competition and all that, I don't think it's good for the consolidation of intra-party democracy, okay, and the democracy in its entirety.
But Doc, let me come in. What do you make of the cost? I mean, Parliament will train first-timers, for example, build their confidence, give them the skill they require for legislative work in Parliament, and then suddenly they go there one term and they're contested by their party and they're booted out. Would that not be a negative cost to the state and to our democratic system generally?
No, I'm coming to all that. We must be patient. We have practiced democracy for how many years now? Since 1992. Do I say continuously? All right. And some people have been in Parliament. Dan Butchie has been in Parliament for how many years now? But whether or not the minority leader or any member of Parliament is contested in his constituency, must be contingent upon that person's performance.
That's right.
And now is able to fulfill certain roles and expectations of that role. So if you are a minority leader, and you may have been found not to have performed, according to to meet the aspirations of your people, then according to the fundamental tenet of democracy, and for this matter, competitive democracy, every standing member of the party has a right to contest you. I think the minority leader,
Doc,
has come under some criticism for certain decisions opposition he took on certain issues in this country. All right. So it all depends on your own standing, both within your party, in parliament, and then in the constituency level. As for the first timers, we must have patience. It depends on how the person in the first place managed to get himself into parliament.
Right, Doc.
And he's standing in the constituency.
Right.
I think that if the person
right, Doc. Let me quickly let Koko Anyidoho get a say in this discussion. I brought Koko Anyidoho into the discussion so that we can evaluate the NDC's preparedness towards contesting the Talensi seat. But Mr. Anyidoho, whilst you're here, I'll just tease your brain briefly on the call by Damboche for the NPP to bring in place rules that will stop people from contesting first-timers, for example, and contesting the minority leader. So let's say for the NDC, is this something that you would love to consider, say, ensure that the majority leader's position is not contested, and then you make sure that you put in place rules to protect first-timers of your party who are in parliament? Do you find such proposals prudent?
Well, Stephen, thank you for the opportunity. Tomorrow will be our 23rd birthday. That's the NDC, founded on the 10th of June 1992. Tomorrow will be our 23rd birthday. We have gone through the mill, and at a point in time, we also thought it wise to impose candidates. Subsequently, we realized that it didn't work well for the party, and so we moved away from the imposition of candidates. And so now we've opened the doors for everybody eligible per the party's constitution to participate in the electoral process, or for that matter, the primaries. And so when you get a nod of the delegate, then you stand on the ticket of the party. So we have moved long away from the attempt to impose candidates.
I see, but I mean the monetary aspect of all of our politics lately, our politics has become monocratic, and to the extent that anyone ends up in parliament, is it not fair, or I should say, politically wise, to then support candidates who have shown that they're of good material and can do the parliamentary legislative work effectively? Is it not fair to keep them by all means?
Well, Stephen, I mean, to the extent that at the highest level of the presidency, we do not allow imposition. And so we vote for president after every 4 years. Why do we want to allow the lower strata of the electoral process to have a different constitution and a different definition? So if we can't allow presidents to stay in power in as much as they work very hard, why then do we want to allow parliamentarians to go unopposed? So that is the electoral constitution that we have defined for ourselves. And then we must respect it. And for us in the NDC, we have chosen to respect it, so we can't impose.
But Mr. Mahama, John, the President, His Excellency, John Mahama was not contested. And so was this a party arrangement so that you will keep the best candidate, and which means that you keep your best foot forward?
Well, you have that internal arrangement. That internal arrangement is not discussed in public. Yeah, so to the extent that Damboche is a good candidate for Okere, to the extent that Osei Asare is a good candidate for Swami, to the extent that whoever else is a good candidate for a certain constituency, it is the party's internal decision to hold on to those internal arrangements and not make it public, so that it does not become an open war.
I see. So, Kwaku, let me switch the discussion a bit. I'll go back to Dr. Richardson, so we'll continue with the aspects of the Damboche suggestions. But the key reason we wanted to speak to you was on Talensi. Talensi is predominantly an NPP seat. Is the NDC keen on Talensi, or you will just let it go?
how can we let it go? That seat has been ours for so many years, since 1992. We only lost it in 2012. And to the extent that the laws of the land allow us to contest once the seat has been declared vacant, as a political party, the NDC will contest that seat.
I see. So are you able to tell us what preparations you have started or you want to begin in order to ensure that you will annex that seat and claw it back from the NPP?
Well, no army goes into war declaring its war strategy. For us, as a party, the seat has been declared vacant, so we will work at it and make sure that we recapture that seat. But we are not able to openly state the strategies that we shall use to recapture that seat.
Right, Mr. Anyidoho, we're grateful for your time. Koku Anyidoho is Deputy General Secretary of the NDC and is currently acting as General Secretary in the absence of Johnson Esiedu Nketia. So let's go back to Dr. Richardson and begin to continue with our discussion on the proposals that have been made by Dan Boche. So, Koku Anyidoho raised very important issues that in the past the NDC had considered imposing candidates based on the fact that they felt that their competences were required and very important to the legislative process or the parliamentary process in general, but that didn't work exactly for the party. So you still also believe, perhaps you share the view of Koku, that it won't work for the NPP too?
Well, Koku has given a very good empirical, case or evidence, on this proposition to impose candidates, for NDC shows. I think that is a very good analysis of the situation, and I think it buttresses the point I made that democracy is about competitive democracy. All right, and so any attempt or idea or culture to impose individuals on whole constituencies on the party, will ultimately undermine the spirit of democracy. I don't think it's a good thing. That must be contingent or determined by the performance of the individual. All right. As the party grows and we progress in our democratic, experimentation or consolidation, right? The system will be able to sort out the good ones from the bad ones and be able to retain even the good ones, as they perform in Parliament. So I think, we are at the same wavelength, and the NDC experience must provide useful lessons for NPP to learn from. I don't think this is the time for NPP to talk of retaining candidates, when some of them do not merit. Some of them have been in Parliament for a long time, and I'm wondering whether they have so much to show for, if they should be contested to account for their stewardship in Parliament. Right,
Dr. Richardson, we'll have you hold. We're joined on the other telephone line by Dr. Alidu Seidu, who is a senior political science lecturer at the University of Ghana. Dr. Seidu, good evening.
Good evening.
It's always good to have you. Now, the discussion we are having is simple. Dan Boche has made suggestions that in order for Parliament and Ghanaians to benefit from the immense skill or talent of some of the MPs, there must be a rule from within the party to protect their positions. For example, first-timers in Parliament and the minority leader in Parliament. Now, the arguments we've had coming from Dr. Richardson and Koku Anyidoho, who is on the other side of the divide, suggest that imposing candidates usually do not work. But formal arrangements in politics is normal, really. Many of these arrangements happen behind the scenes. So what's the big deal? Making it, regularizing it and making it formal for us all to then agree that Party X is going to protect candidate A because candidate A has potential.
Yeah, I agree that some MPs have in Parliament for several years, and they have achieved institutional memory. They have perfected the art of debate and projecting government ideas and policies in the House of the Legislature and everything. Those people are very valuable to the party and to the state at large. But one thing we must realize is that members of Parliament do not represent a party. Even though they may stand on the ticket of a party, they represent the people. And I think it is the decision of the people to decide who should represent them at any material point in time. We have seen one thing political parties forget is that once you are standing on the ticket of the NDC or the NPP or the CPP or the GDCPP, then the party's interest must reign supreme. That is not the case. Practically, it's the interest of the people, because an MP represents the wish of the people. And that is why we can have an independent candidate being an MP without using the vehicle of political parties. One mistake we have done in the past is that...
Doc, so you would say that no matter the cost of, say, bringing in somebody for the first time in Parliament, he goes for 4 years and he or she does not perform creditably, the people have the mandate to remove him, no matter the cost, no matter how much the state spent on training him and building his confidence for this job?
Yes, because the state is doing that to that MP because he is representing a constituency. And it is, you see, indirect representative democracy as we practice now is based on the concept that we all can't go to the house of the legislature. So we choose somebody to represent our interests. Political parties have misunderstood this particular principle of representative democracy. And there are times that they impose candidates on people. And in most cases, people, because if the party wants candidate A, and the people want candidate B, the ultimate decider for who represents them is the people. So you have seen in cases where constituencies have voted skirt and blouse. They have voted for the presidential candidate of Party A and voted for the MP of Party B, or they protest by voting for an independent candidate. So no matter the experience that somebody has achieved in Parliament, no matter the resources the state have invested in training that people, the ultimate decider of who should represent the people is the people.
Doc, let me take it from the exact angle that Okere MP was approaching it from. His major concern was that political activity when you go to Parliament start immediately. Let's say 2 years after you've been into Parliament, you begin to prepare for re-election. Now, his suggestion is that this kind of pressure, knowing that you would be contested when just 2 years into your tenure in Parliament, sometimes makes you disoriented. You lose focus in the work that you're supposed to do as a member of Parliament. So is it not fair then, under all these pressures, to then institute rules within the party to keep the fresh ones?
Yeah, to keep the fresh one. The person that we want. Because he just came and he
Dr. Ali Jussedio, I think your line is breaking. We would have to re-establish contact with you, and we'll call you back and see if the line will be clear. We apologize for the interruption in the quality of service there. Dr. Theophilus Richardson is still on the line. Dr. Richardson, you have been very outspoken about the NPP issues from the time all these acid attack issue came up and the processes that the party was following to remove the General Secretary and the General Secretary and the National Chairman. Now, I don't know what the process is now, but as a political observer, do you think all of these happenings have a negative effect or could actually affect the quality of candidates that the party might get when they go to Congress on Saturday?
Yes, before I address it, let me just make a point about the discussion on making rules, for the party, about the retention or position of candidates.
That's right.
I get a drift. I get a sense of, the concerns of Dan Butri. I mean, for somebody to be in Parliament for 4 years represents a huge investment in that person. As my colleagues have indicated, institutional memory and all that. And then also to enable the person to continue to focus on his work. I've learned that Dr. Makesibi is being contested. That's very unfortunate. I mean, if some people have recommended me highly that the nation needs me and I should, go into Parliament. And, taking my background, diversity of background in politics, in social policy, in economics, if I should go to Parliament for only 4 years, all right, to be contested by somebody who may have the wherewithal, the money, okay, as you have indicated, because of the degree of
monetization.
Money, the role of money in our politics today. Okay, and that person contest me and able to unseat me. That would be most unfortunate, to say the least. But these are not things I think, as the whole indicated, need to be made. That needs to be made public.
Right.
The part, I think NPP is too. Some members of NPP, are too loud about things that can be discussed internally for some internal arrangement based on broad consensus. And as I indicate, it depends on the caliber of the individual and the
right, Doc. Let's we would
about,
have to
about the second subject, whether or not the rumpus.
I think we might have to just cut the discussion with Dr. Theophilus Richardson and move the further with Mr. Richardson. Dr. Richardson, we will have to come to you later, and then we'll continue with the second leg of our discussion. But Dr. Alidu Seido is back on. You were making a point earlier before we lost you.
Yeah, what I was saying is that the ultimate decision, the ultimate people who can make that decision is the electorate or the constituency. Because, for example, if we say that this is a first-time MP, let's protect him. How many capable people do we have from the constituency who also want to serve
the first people? Time.
So apparently, if you protect one MP because it's a first-time MP, then the people who are contesting to unseat him or to also represent his people are being unfairly treated. Because I think what happens, what we must realize is that every individual who is capable, there's no one person who can serve a whole constituency for the rest of their life. At least there are equally capable people who can also serve the same constituency. So if we begin to enact laws that seem to create an unfair playing ground between decent, equal people who have the same rights to serve their constituencies, they'll be creating a huge lot of problems in our democracy.
So you would say that this is only a selfish position, really. Is that what you would say?
I'm not saying it's a selfish position, but it is an unfair to somebody who is also, because the person who has become a first-timer MP that you are taking, maybe he had been in the queue for a very long period of time before he came in, and somebody is also in the queue. So what you do is that you open up the processes, make it free, fair, and transparent, and people are able to justify the merit of having them serving their people. If candidates or people who wish to put themselves forward are able to justify that they are capable of solving the challenges of the people.
Doc, should we be throwing competences to the gutter in favor of political expediency?
I think the people will vote. If the people are going to vote for you, one of the things they will consider is your competence. So those who are first-timers and those who are contesting them, they have the same or equal competence. So it now resides on the people to determine that this person can serve our interests better than that one.
But look, there are people who have been to Parliament and have never spoken. Actually, they're incompetent. But their money took them there.
Parliamentary activities and businesses is not just what we see on the floor debate.
The floor of Parliament.
It is done largely at the committee level. And every member of Parliament serves in a committee. So it is the committee that do majority of the job. When it comes to the open debate, I think there are privileged MPs who are allowed to speak. And not every MP can speak at that particular moment in time. We don't have time for all of them to speak.
I see.
So every MP, one way or the other, serves his people through by participating in committee activities in which about 90% of parliamentary work are conducted. But we don't see that. We don't broadcast that. We only broadcast the open platform debate, and you see this particular minister or a privileged
shouting,
MP
right.
That is not
right. Dr. Alidu Seido, we're grateful for your time. Dr. Alidu Seido is a senior political science lecturer, and thanks for joining us on today's big story. We'll be right back with Joy News Interactive. Do stay.